Hi everyone, I just want to invite you to come hang out with me on twitch.tv/thatneilj, where you can watch these openings happen live. Sometimes I'll open up my lobbies to do hunts with viewers, and you can even choose which weapon I'm going to go to each hunt with. Thanks. As usual, everybody, it's charm opening time. I got 46 charms to do. Rapnorth level 3, nice. I got 46 charms to do. And we are going to open them, talk about the skills, etc. like we do. So let's jump in, let's do this. Right off the bat, I can tell you, not as much red as I wish, but 3 reds right at the end. That's going to be an exciting finish. I'm going to try not to make this take too long, so let's just jump in. Ballistics. Really good skill for gunners. Unfortunately, Wall Runner is such a niche skill, and no slots makes this really not great. You can get some surprisingly decent rarity 5s, but this is not one of them. Bubbly Dance 2 with Defense Boost. Defense Boost is kind of just a thing you can get on any build, and it's fine. But 2 Bubbly Dance is pretty good, because if you're going for that Bubbly Dance Resuscitate build, 2 is enough to open up some armor pieces for you a lot. So this is usable if you don't have one better. Wow, another Bubbly Dance 2? Is this going to be more Bubbly Dance Day? Speed Sharpening is a very good skill for melee weapons. But this is, again, if you don't have something better, and you're doing a Bubbly Dance build, it's fine, but probably not worth it. Speed Sharpening 2, wide range. So you can make this Speed Sharpening 3, which is okay, with that level 1 slot, but wide range is really only for the support build, because as you can see here, it makes it so your items affect people around you, which is great, but Speed Sharpening isn't really a part of that. Master Mounter, we've talked about me not really liking this skill. Maybe there's something about it, I just don't understand, but filling the riding gauge easier seems like a worse thing to me. So, I don't want to do it. Stamina Surge is amazing for dual blades, but this is too low rarity to really care about it. Diversion and Horn Maestro. That's a weird one. Diversion is supposed to make monsters focus on you more when you're hitting them. You really are looking for it more on weapons like Lance, where parrying is a big part of the weapon. Not really a hunting horn thing. But I guess if you want it to focus on you, that's cool. But you wouldn't really use this. It's too low. These skills, Horn Maestro is a level 1 slot item. You can just get it on whatever you need. So not really worth using this talisman. Okay. Heroics 3 is kind of nuts. If you're trying to do a low HP build, which you can do because Heroics gives you a huge attack bonus, 30%. So that's like, what, 60 raw? If you have 200 attack, which is pretty average for these late game weapons, that's 60 more raw, which is an insane bonus. If you are doing a build that is really about having this 35% HP, being in that low health thing, if you are confident playing like that, having 3 of it on your talisman is kind of incredible. So this is definitely usable if you're trying to do specifically that thing, but I'm not good enough to do that. I would never do that. Wide range we talked about, kind of only a support thing, and getting it with reload speed is not really going to help you out, unfortunately. The wide range build is really a sword and shield build, because you can use items while the sword and shield is being wielded. You don't have to sheath it to use your items. And reload speed isn't gonna affect that, so not really helpful for that. Earplugs, kind of a quality of life thing and not really needed in this game right now. With hunger resistance. Hunger resistance is a quality of life for a couple of stamina intensive weapons. But nothing here is high enough to really want to go for it. Okay. This isn't bad. Evade Extender 2 is good. Evade Extender is pretty amazing on a lot of weapons. It increases the distance you move when you do your dodge moves. And I'm pretty sure it includes air dodges. It includes, the short hops you get from Lance and like switch axe and stuff. It's really, really good. Getting 2 of it on your talisman is pretty good. 2 level 1 slots means you can put in a couple of quality of lives or speed sharpeners or something in there. And stamina surge is really good. Again, if you're doing like a Lance build, getting your stamina back faster because you use stamina from guarding can make this really, really good for a Lance or Gun Lance build in some kind. This is pretty decent. This is pretty decent. I'm gonna keep that one there. Punishing Draw 2 with Part Breaker. I like Punishing Draw for Greatsword or even Longsword. But you don't really need it to be a high rank. The big part of what Punishing Draw gives you is the stun damage. But the bonus attack is not really what you care about. So getting 1 Punishing Draw is decent. Getting it to 3 is okay. But if you're going for the, like, draw attack build, you're probably not trying to get it with Part Breaker. You're probably looking to get it with either Critical Draw or Quick Sheath. Quick Sheath is another piece you're really looking for. So this is okay, but not quite rolled high enough with the right skills to make it worth it. Hunger resistance free meal. That's kind of funny. Considering hunger resistance and like free meal is just nice. The big part of this is actually the slots on it. You can kind of turn this into whatever you want. Particularly, like, if you want hunger resistance as a quality of life skill on your, like, bow, this is pretty decent, actually. Because the 3 slot gives you room for a pierce up or normal rapid up, depending on what kind of bow you're trying to do. The hunger resistance is just a quality of life thing, but you still have the tier 2 gem in there to put like a attack jewel or weakness exploit jewel of some kind in there. This isn't great, but like if you're getting basically everything out of your build with the armor pieces, you could slot this in and still get some of those good skills you want out of the decorations and just have the other skills on this as quality of life. So this is okay. This is usable, at least. Part Breaker recovery up. 2 tier 2 gems is amazing on your talisman. But the skills on this aren't anything that's going to really give you what you're looking for. Like if this had some of the skills, even even the skills that are more niche but powerful, this could be really good. But unfortunately, just like one part breaker and recovery up, it's like the 2 slots are good if you just need those slots for your build. But the skills on here are really, really underwhelming. So unfortunately, you probably aren't looking for this. Like, recovery up just makes it so your healing heals more. Like, it's fine, but if you need the gems, you could use this, but it's unfortunately not good enough at anything. Affinity sliding and thunder resist. So we've talked about affinity sliding a bunch of times. It's a really cool skill. It gives you, I want to say, like 30 affinity, but it is not really used in this game the way that you could use it in like World, where sliding was a way bigger part of that game. Just in general, there were a lot of weapons had moves that could use the sliding to get into them that only really the hammer has in this one. And a lot of the combat zones aren't really built to give you opportunities to slide, to give you that ability. And of course, thunder resistance. Y'all know how I feel about resistances. They're all tier 1. They're very powerful if you want them, but they're not worth getting on a talisman. So just slot them in with your tier 1 gems if you feel like you need it. Speed sharpening, reload speed. Unfortunately, gunner skill and blade skill or melee skill, you are never going to have a weapon that can use both of these. So kind of a wasted slot, a wasted talisman. We talked about windproof before. Not today, but it's kind of a low power skill in this game right now. It's not really, there's not a lot of monsters that do wind pressure stuff, and when they do, it's not usually a very big detriment. And we talked about heroics. That's a cool skill, but this talisman's kind of rolled too low anyway. Okay, spare shot 1. I wish it was spare shot 2. If this was spare shot 2, or if the slots were better, the tier 1 slots make this kind of meh. But spare shot is a very good skill on bowgun, especially for like a sticky build or a slicing build where you can't bring a lot of that ammo in to a hunt or into a base thing. Hey, Azuma, it is Friday. But unfortunately, the slots mean that if this was spare shot 2, I would be way happier about this. Or if the slots were better, I'd be way happier about this. But it kind of rolled too low on both sides here. Poison attack with steadiness, not really a good one, especially because poison attack is the only status that is a tier 1 decoration. So if it was any other status attack, you could turn this into that status 2. Which then if you wanted, it fits a little better into your gunner build, but this isn't really a good talisman. Y'all know how I feel about resistances, and we've gotten a bunch of wide range today. Not really worth using. Man, fire resistance, tremor resist? Come on. How is this a rarity 7? I guess it's because of the slots, but bad talisman. Bad talisman. Rapid Morph 1 earplugs. Unfortunately, this rolled too low to really be usable. Earplugs, just a quality of life, but you don't really need it. But Rapid Morph is really good on Switch Axe. I know some people like it a lot for Charge Blade as well, but I don't think it's as necessary personally on Charge Blade. But it's still a good skill there. Unfortunately, only getting one rank of it like this isn't really making this worth using. God, all these resistances, man. Wasting my rarity 7s. The tier 3 slot is great, but the resistances, who cares? Not worth it. Waste of a talisman. Muck resistance. Really nice. It's a really nice quality of life against Almudron. Not really worth using otherwise. So, kind of a bad one. Latent power is interesting in this game. You can see here, it gives you affinity when it triggers, and the affinity goes up to 50% if you have rank 5, which is cool. But it doesn't synergize very well with, dual blades, unfortunately, which is, when does it trigger? So I'll explain the trigger for you. The trigger is if you are, I think, in combat or in a hunt or something. I think it's in combat for like 2.5 minutes, then it will trigger. But if you are attacking, that time gets reduced, and you can reduce it down to something like 1.5 minutes. And then once it triggers, it lasts for 2 minutes. The thing that's unfortunate is the increased affinity is amazing. The reduced stamina depletion is great. But one of the best synergies you would think for that is dual blades. And for some reason, when you are in demon mode, your attacks do not reduce the charge time for latent power. It's only when you're not in demon mode. Which is like, feels really counterintuitive for why you would be wanting this to trigger and do this. It's really unfortunate. Maybe that's a bug, I don't know. But at least in 1.0, that's how it worked. So it's a cool power, but not really a good charm. Reload speed 1 with 2 wire bugs and 2 tier 1s. I like Wirebug Whisperer a lot. I don't think it's worth using, at least on this talisman. I guess the reload speed, I guess you could make this reload speed 3, Wirebug 2 for like a heavy bow gun. And then if you hit Wirebug 3, it like makes it so you can counter more. But this is kind of low powered, not really the skills you're looking for. Counter-Strike. We've talked about Counter-Strike in the past. It's a really niche skill. It has a powerful effect, but it's one of those skills that feels like you get more out of it when you are worse at the game, when you are getting hit more. So as you improve in the game, you're going to be using it less without some very specific setups that are still hard to put into practice. I could see it being good for like 2-person speed runs where one person is triggering the other person's Counter-Strike on purpose and you are synergizing in that way, but not too great of a skill unless you're really building for it in a very specific way. So this could be good, but Leap of Faith is that weird skill that lets you do the Superman dive towards monsters instead of only away. I don't like it. But if you like that skill, I think it's still a tier 1, so don't put it on your talisman. Carving Pro is kind of useless. You mostly carve at the end of hunts, and it's hard to get knocked over at the end of a hunt anyway. I've been to Australia. I have. Flinch Free 2, Stamina Surge 1. If these were swapped, if this was Flinch Free 1, Stamina Charge 2, Stamina Surge 2, this would be totally usable. But unfortunately, because they're this way, I think it's kind of crappy. Did I ever go to Aldi? I see what you're trying to do, Azuma. I ain't falling for it today. Offensive Guard is a cool skill. I think it's a tier 3 gem this time. I almost fell for it. I did. I almost fell for the D's. But not today. Offensive Guard, I think, is a tier 3 gem. So this is... If you're looking for it, this is kind of decent. But I also feel like most of the Lancer sets or other sets where the Offensive Guard would come in, it's not too hard to find on the armor pieces that will give you other skills you're trying to synergize with. So, without any slots, this probably isn't worth it. We talked about Diversion earlier. Dragon Attack is unfortunately not great. All of the elemental attacks, Dragon Attack being one of them, are tier 1 slots, so not really worth getting on your talisman. You can just slot them in easily. So this is kind of a bad talisman, unfortunately. We talked about resistances earlier, but Blast Attack is one of the tier 2 gems because status attacks are tier 2 decorations in this one. Bombardier Speed Sharpening. I don't like Bombardier. I know there are people who really do. You can make builds around Bombardier. And Speed Sharpening is really good to have on almost every melee weapon. So if you're doing a Bombardier build, this could work. But, like, you can make this Speed Sharpening 3. I think Bombardier is also a tier 1 slot. You might be able to make it Bombardier 3. But I wouldn't use this. Paralysis Attack, Latent Power, no slots. If this had slots, it would be maybe usable. Because Paralysis Attack is a tier 2. Being one of those status attacks, but kind of trash. You know how I feel about resistances. Horn Maestro is a basically required skill for Hunting Horn, but super easy to slot in, so not worth it. Slugger 2 Ballistics. Slugger is fine if you're doing a, like, stun sticky ammo build for light bowgun, but I feel like it's pretty easy to get a better one than this, even for that build. Slugger 2, I've gotten Slugger 2 with like a bunch of slots and another thing on it. Like this feels like it just didn't roll high enough. Thunder Attack 2, again, you don't really want the attacks, the elemental attacks on your talismans, so kind of trash. Slugger's okay for Horn Maestro, because Slugger and Horn Maestro together, Hunting Horn does stun damage, so Slugger is helpful. Get some extra stuns, but the tier 3 gem, I don't know what tier 3 gem you really care about with Hunting Horn to get good use out of this talisman. So I don't really think this is worth it. Bludgeoner Geologist. If you need a Geologist talisman for your farming stuff, you can make this Geologist 3, so that's fine, I guess, but bleh. Another Horn Maestro, my god, with earplugs. No one cares. You don't need it. Not worth it. Okay, Weakness Exploit 1 with Hunger Resistance. Hunger Resistance is a nice quality of life. Weakness Exploit is good. Only 1 with a tier 1 is a little bit weak. But if you don't have a Weakness Exploit build yet and you want it, this is totally usable. Recovery speed doesn't really go with heroics very well because you want to be at 35% or lower. And recovery speed is going to make your health recover that red health faster, which means you might come out of heroics faster, easier. They kind of just don't synergize well. We talked about Bombardier before. I like Slugger a lot. I don't like Bombardier very much. But we got 3 reds left. Last 3. Here we go. Come on, baby. Something amazing. Fuck. Okay, first one's bad. Y'all know how I feel about Thunder Attack. But, Speed Eating is a tier 2 decoration. You can make this talisman Speed Eating 3. You could use it for a Speed Eating wide range build. Still trash. I hate it. I'm mad. Oh no! Come on! Oh, Carving Pro! Why does this game weigh Carving Pro so high? Decent slots, but trash! Trash! Last one. Okay! Okay! Here we go! Rapid Morph 2. Blast Attack 2. I wish it had a tier 2 slot on it. If this had a tier 2 slot on it, so you could make it Rapid Morph 3 or Blast Attack 3, this would be really good for a Switch Axe or Charge Blade Blast status build. It is very specific to those 2 weapons and Blast Attack, but that is 4 tier 2 slots on your talisman. And the 2 tier 1s do still give you some quality of life things for either of those weapons. So this is usable. You can get Rapid Morph 1 on a lot of armor pieces pretty easily. Some of them even have tier 2 slots on them to get that 3rd blast attack. So you could totally use this one. This is usable. But that's it. That's all we got today. A lot of heartbreakers, but that blast attack one is okay. This Heroics 3, if you are very specifically going for a Heroics build, is very good for being able to get there. Evade Extender 2, Stamina Surge. This one's also pretty good. And this is, because of the slots, usable for a bow. So we got a couple decent ones in there.